So you went to Juilliard on scholarship,
Hmm.
yet you still had to take two jobs to daily, I think, to make ends meet.
Yeah. Well, what I did was the summer before I took two jobs, so that I'd have enough cash to kind of get through the year, and that was when I was a night man at a hotel, and I did work on a construction site in the daytime, and I actually used to run from one to the other. After the job would close at 6 a.m. At the hotel, I would run over and start work on the construction site.
What were the hours?
That was 7 to 3, basically, and then it was 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. on and I would do the laundry a lot of the time on the hotel one, and rake the beach, brush the tennis courts, clean the tile in the swimming pool, just stuff like that. I liked work.
How much money?
I ended up with $700 by the end of the summer, and it got me through. It got me through till the spring the next year.
Well, I mean, yes, but you had to be creative.
Very
what
creative.
led you to sleeping in the park?
Well, that was because it was still warm enough I could actually sleep there for just only a few weeks, really. But I could sneak behind a certain bush and cover myself with a newspaper, and I was fine. And I showered over at Juilliard.
What do you remember from that? I mean,
Nothing.
you
It's completely
were
safe.
sleeping in the park, though.
It's completely
same way?
safe.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'd been camping when I was a kid.
I mean, that's a
It
little
wasn't
different.
really much
though.
different than that. Well, it really
I mean,
wasn't.
people don't camp in the
Nobody
park
was really
in
around.
New
You
York
didn't
City.
see anybody, so it was all right. You know, I never had any real experiences there. I had to, one time I took the train too far on the Independent line. I ended up in Harlem, and some guy looked at me. It was like 3 a.m. I'm standing there on one side of the track, and he looks over like this. He goes, "Hope you make it home." Oh hell! But you know what? Whatever it was, there was always something that kept me safe.
What do you think going through that period, though, taught you about money and savings?
Well, it taught me to be pretty frugal, you know, and I'm a bit of a spendthrift. If in my heart, I think that you should live beyond your means a little bit. You should take risks, like build a brewery. Money's made to be spent a little bit. You're supposed to actually be in the game, put it to good use, but you also should be smart about how far you overextend. I mean, everybody overextends a little bit, but I try to keep it within reason.
How did you figure out that balance early on, though? When
well, early on it was simpler because you just didn't, you just knew you couldn't do that, and I was always wanting to sacrifice my body for the sake of survival, which meant, I'll sleep in the elements, I won't get an apartment,
right.
I'll drive a motorcycle instead of get a car, stuff like that. There was always a way of shaving the budget to a point where you could survive and still feel like you were, thriving. Because I always felt rich. I always felt like I was doing great. I mean, if I could buy a quarter pound of salami and a hard roll, I was a happy guy.
So there was a period in which, during your early acting days, where you auditioned something like 100 times over 4 months. 100
auditions, yeah.
And what made you realize that if you really wanted to be an actor, you had to give up the waiting job?
Oh, that was interesting. No, I'd had some success in acting by then. I mean, at least I'd had a couple of jobs. I worked in San Diego for almost 2.5 years, 3 seasons. 3 summer seasons, and I stayed through the winter and did some shows then. I ended up doing maybe 13 plays during that amount of time, which was, just great. And I went back to New York and did a job did a job off Broadway for, what was subway fare. That was one of the big things we'd get, which was 75 cents at the time. And did a couple of other plays like readings and stuff like that. And then I one day walked into work where I was working at O'Neill's on 57th Street and 6th Avenue, and which is now the Rue to something or other. It's still there. The restaurant's still there. And I suddenly thought, you know what? You're not going to be an actor as long as you're a waiter. And that's when I said to the guy, I said, I got to quit. I don't know why. It's just time. And his name was Michael, I remember. He was a nice guy. And he said, well, okay. It sounds crazy to me, but okay. And I got a job the next day. And I was an actor ever since.